with Paul, Pluta, and Clive. Today, we're back in doing our favorite watch reviews. This is what I get most enjoyment talking about. I mean, this is probably the better topics. What do you think, Clive? What's your topics? You like talking about the watches? That's your favorite?
No, I really like the in-depth discussions we have about AIDS, the Middle East, and the decline of suburban America.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I think I prefer watch reviews.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's jump into the first one here. I've put this one off a little bit, and mainly because it's such a long request, and it's not a bad request. He sent me a bit of money, so I should jump on board and do it. So okay, let's. I'm just gonna send. Did I send? I'm just gonna check here. I've got some pictures, which right. I would like to share with you, Clive. I would like to share these pictures with you because a picture tells the story. It tells the story, and it really does make it nicer if you can see. Now I'm going to have to just. This isn't working too well here. I'm just going to send it from my one phone to the other phone. It's always a disaster, bit of a disaster how we're going to do this, but that's okay. I've got it. Just hang on, bear with me. It's all going good, actually. Ah, Jesus, he sent me a 20-page thing. My God, Clive, you've got to wonder. It's just hang on. Just hang on there. I might even send you a copy of it as well, so you can actually see it on your screen. I've just sent that to you. Okay, let's the show begin. Let the show begin here. This is for Mariano. Mariano. Now, what Mariano says here, I will tell you. Dear Archie, I enjoy watching your videos. And I like your point of view on watches and on life too. I love watches, and your channel has been very informative. Very informative. And entertaining at the same time. I would like your opinion on the watches I have and which ones I may add in the future. Excuse me. By the way, for your reviews, I think you should be getting more money the more watches one has to review. Since the rich bikers can afford to pay you more, I am sending you $10 per watch, so $50 considering I have 5 watches, shitters aside. And I am writing you a long email. Look out for this money in your PayPal account. So, getting to the watches. Getting to the watches. Very, very good to see him getting straight to the point. Okay, I'm going to blow my nose there.
Number 1. Circa 1940s Patek Philippe 2494 Calatrava in yellow gold from Haussmann Jewelers in Rome. This belonged to my grandfather, and it was passed on to me. It has a very special place in my collection. It's a watch I hardly ever wear, considering its yellow gold and small size, but one I cherish very much. Number 2, 1992 Rolex Submariner, date, pre-ceramic. I got this watch new for my graduation and used it every day for about 20 years. It's the ultimate beater. We've seen a lot together. My dad used to have this sub he bought in the late 60s, but unfortunately I stole it from him a few years before, so this Rolex is particularly dear to me. I still use it quite a lot, but with much more care than before. Number 3, 2013 Baume & Mercier Clifton Dual Time. It's the only GMT I have. It does not have a great movement, but it was a wedding present. How could you say no? Not a watch I would have purchased myself, but a fine daily dress watch I can wear for work. Plus, the GMT function is cool. Number 4, 2003 steel Rolex Daytona black dial. Now we're getting interesting.
Yes.
This, in my opinion, is simply the coolest watch, period. I wouldn't prefer any other watch to this one, not even a Nautilus or a Royal Oak. It's a bit flashier than the sub due to its polished steel bracelet and bezel, so I don't wear it as much, but I love it. Number 5, 2017 Breguet Type 21 reference 3817. This, in my opinion, is the most beautiful pilot watch. It has a flyback function that makes the chrono more robust and can be both sporty and dressy. Overall, a fantastic watch you can wear on most occasions. I got this as a memory of my time in Paris. I was on the verge of buying a Cartier, but then I decided for this one after trying it on. I got it brand new at a 30% discount over retail, which I don't think was a bad deal. Now considering, Jesus Christ. Now considering I am not going to get rid of any of my watches since each one is very special to me, what do you think about the collection as is? I have a feeling it's somewhat unbalanced or imbalanced or missing something, but I can't figure out what or how. Do you get the same impression? Does it sound like a stupid question? Ha ha ha.
Okay, Clive, let's just stop. Let's just stop this. Let's just stop for a moment there. Just stop. Back the truck up. Now, I've actually got a picture of some of the collection here on the screen. I just want to have a quick talk to you. Let's just go through. Let's just go through the first part here. Okay, he's got a 1940s Calatrava. I actually do have that picture as well. We will come to that. Look, I got to tell you, in all honesty, it's just a very, very how would you put this? It's a very, very just a very boring sort of Calatrava, isn't it, Clive? What do you think?
Oh yeah, but it is a Calatrava.
It's a Patek, and I mean the fact that it was your grandfather's pretty cool. I think, to be honest with you, it's a great watch. I think you'd never sell it. What do you think? It's nice to have a Patek in your life. Don't you agree?
Well, yes, but you wouldn't sell your grandfather's watch anyway.
You haven't seen the garbage he left me, Clive.
Well, okay. Well, especially if it's Patek. But yeah, a nice watch like that from your grandfather. I mean,
and I think it's a classic genre too. I mean, it's actually a double dial. Do you see that, Clive, there? It's a double dial. It's Halsman's Jewellers. You see how it's signed by, that's like a Tiffany & Co. dial. So they're actually a little bit special. They are a little bit special. The I got to tell you, I kind of think it's very nice. I mean, my grandfather, my father never had a Patek. The Rolex he has that because that was some money that I owed him, and he took the watch in exchange. So it was just a loan that was called in there. But look, it's a classic kind of Calatrava. It's just a nice. What do you think of it? What's your opinion on it? It's just a nice thing to have, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing wrong with it at all. It is, yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. That's a manually wound Calatrava, just very classic. You could say it's a little bit small by modern standards, but I don't think it's a huge problem. They kind of these are kind of the classic kind of Calatrava that was out there in the 60s. I've just, as we were talking there, I've just had a bit of a look at it. Yep, I think that's all original. It's all original. You don't like the champagne dial, Clive. That's the only criticism. They had these in other colors.
Well, it's not that bad. It's not a very. There's still enough contrast between the indices, the hands, and the dial. So it might be a slight champagne dial, but that's fine.
I mean, this is
not monochromatic.
This is a great piece to have. You must admit, he is pretty lucky to have this, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Absolutely.
I mean, I never had relatives who even knew what the hell a Patek Philippe was, yet alone owned one. Exactly. So that's a keeper. We're going to give that a tick of approval. That's a definite keeper. It's a Patek, for God's sake, and it's a Calatrava. It's a classic 60s Patek. I mean, I would love. That's a great piece. Great piece. You can't criticize that at all there. Now, as for his next pieces here, just between you and me, Clive, this guy takes the worst photos I've ever seen. He doesn't know how to use light, does he?
Not great, but still.
Okay. He's got a 1992 Rolex Submariner pre-ceramic. He's got that on a NATO. I hope he's still got... He must have the bracelet. He wouldn't have lost the bracelet. That's a great piece. A classic Rolex. You can't complain with that, can you?
No, you really can't.
And that's also, I think that's also a classic. It's instead with the Patek. The Patek and the Submariner, they are both keepers. Beautiful piece. I quite like the pre-ceramics, and it's nice to know that he bought that. Actually, he didn't buy that. It was a graduation gift. I think this guy came from money. What do you think, Clive?
No, I think the email said that he did buy it as a graduation gift.
I got this watch new for my graduation.
Oh, well, you see, it doesn't mean, does got mean bought or does got mean received? It's ambiguous.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. My dad used to have a sub he bought in the late 60s. That, unfortunately, it was stolen a few years ago. Gee, that's a bummer. That'd be worth a fair bit of money, a late 60s.
Oh,
yeah. Now, so he's got the sub. That's a great piece to have there. Nothing wrong with that.
Check.
The Borman Mercer Clifton Jewel Time. Fail. This is what happens when you get a woman to buy a watch for you. Do you understand, Clive?
Right. But it was a wedding present. And
yeah, did the marriage last? He doesn't mention whether the marriage has lasted or not, but this is a typical chick watch. She buys this because she thinks it's cool. And it is a Swiss watch. It's a Borman Mercer. The only thing worse she could have got for you was a Tiffany & Co. watch. What do you think, Clive?
Daniel Wellington.
Yeah, that's actually, that is worse. That is very much worse. I suppose it's not, is it? It's not complete garbage, is it, a Borman Mercer?
No, actually, I mean, you know, buying a new, the resale value is horrible, but it's not like a piece of crud.
No. But it's probably the weakest link in this collection, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. But on the other hand, the cost of getting rid of it would be a lot more than the loss. I mean, yeah, it'd be a lot more than the hit.
She wouldn't take it the right way either.
No, that would cost. That would cost tens of thousands of dollars ultimately, or
yeah,
millions of dollars.
Just keep that. The Daytona, that is a very good pick.
Yep.
Black Dial Daytona 2003. You love that, don't you?
Absolutely.
Not so good. I think the Bregster, the Type 21. He got a 30% off. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I would have hoped you'd have to get 30% off Breguet's. I mean, they are. Breguet was a French company before. You know that. That's why he bought this in Paris. That is kind of a cool story. It is kind of a very much a Paris watch. Do you like it?
Yeah, it's all right.
Or do you prefer the Type 20?
I might actually like the Type 20. Then again, it could be the photography here.
Yeah, fair point. Oh, look, we're going to give the Breguet a tick. Now, yes. He says...
Well, I disagree with you. I will have to give it a talk.
A what?
Talk.
What's that mean?
TikTok? Never mind. Forget it.
Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. I've been drinking, okay? I was drinking last night, okay?
We noticed.
I'm not going to get rid of any of my watches since each one is special. What do you think of my collection as it is? Well, I think his collection is first rate. Besides the Borman Mercer, which we've already mentioned, I think everything else is beautiful. What do you think, Clive? What's your opinion? Yeah. I'm going to shut up. Yeah. You tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'm surprised, though. I'm surprised that an Italian only has one gold piece. Maybe the Italians in Italy are different from the ones over here. But yeah, sentimental. You can't get rid of any sentimental value anyway. But yeah, absolutely, perfectly fine collection.
Now, what he's saying here is, I think his collection is beautiful. I have the feeling, he says, what do you think of the collection? I love the collection. I have the feeling it is somewhat imbalanced. Now, I got to be honest with you, okay? I think his collection could be very, very balanced. We've got to add something to it. Now, let's look at it this way. The Patek Calatrava is the perfect dress watch.
Right.
The Rolex Sub is the perfect diver. The Daytona is the perfect chronograph. The Breguet, well, that's kind of, that's a very flamboyant, that's to remember the Paris trip. You know what's missing. He needs a GMT function watch, doesn't he?
Right. Absolutely.
And I would even say this type of collection, I wouldn't go for a ceramic Batman. Don't go for a modern. I would be going for a 90s or early 2000s Explorer 2 or a GMT. What do you think, Clive?
Okay, the Explorer 2?
No, I'm just saying he could go for a 90s. You want a sapphire, because it could. You want to keep the collection kind of on par with the other pieces. So if you got a Batman, that's too modern. Okay,
right.
The ceramics GMT. But if he got a 90s Explorer 2 or a GMT, I'm not saying to have to go Explorer 2. Explorer 2 is good bang per buck, but the GMTs are beautiful. Right. I reckon that would plug his holes and balance the collection. The reason it's out of kilter is because he doesn't really... I know the Clifton is a dual time, but it's not really a GMT function watch.
Right.
So I would really be saying...
Well, here's the thing, also a little bit of color, because everything's pretty much a black, with the exception.
The Patek is gold.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Clive, I think this collection, the problem is that these photos are really lousy. He's used the flash. Like, it just doesn't pop. I think if you took the photos much nicer, it would be you'd have a different perspective. I think his photo is so bad because he's used his flash. That's what the bright light is, because he's got a flash. He's taken this with a flash. When you take photos of watches, you want to use natural light with no flash. Flash is not your friend, as you can see by this very poor photo here. Flash is not your friend.
Like I said, a little bit of color though wouldn't hurt either.
So what are you saying? A Pepsi?
A Pepsi, or God help me, I hate to say it, but the Polar Explorer, because that way you get the white dial and you get the GMT at the same time. Everyone on the live stream, go ahead and take a drink. Yeah, Pepsi would be bad. Maybe a white, maybe a white or a blue Milgauss.
No. He needs the GMT function. Because he's got a dress watch in the Calatrava, he's got a diver in the Sub, Daytona is his chronograph, he's missing a GMT. He needs a really heavy-hitting GMT piece. It could either be Explorer 2 Polar or some sort of GMT Rolex pre-ceramic. Okay?
Possibly maybe a two-tone GMT. A little bit vintage.
Yeah, he could do that. I don't know if I would do that, but I think I'd be nice to keep it as steel, because he seems to really love the steel pieces. He's a real cool Italian. Look at this guy. He's Italian. His grandfather had money. His father had money because his father had a Rolex. His grandfather had a Patek. This photo's been taken on marble. Okay, so this guy's got a bit of taste. And just between you and me, Clive, two-tone isn't really the best of taste. It's kind of like Muzak.
Maybe a blue sky dollar.
No. He needs a classic piece from the 90s or noughties, because his collection is kind of vintagey. So I would definitely say...
I think maybe a more modern piece would balance it out a little bit.
No, because his more modern piece he's got is the Breguet, but that's a retro Breguet.
Right.
No. I think he really needs a 90s or noughties Polar Explorer or a GMT of some sort. That's just my opinion, but that's. I think also the fact that he's taken such an awful photo does not help with the review. It doesn't make us look at this fondly. We go, ooh, I'm going to wear glasses to look at this collection because it's out of focus with a flash. I mean, that's probably one of the worst watch photos I've seen in a long time. Okay, let's just keep going. In the future, I'd probably like to add in due time a somewhat complicated watch in precious metal and maybe one more sport everyday watch to alternate with my sub.
More complicated watch, precious metal. Go ahead. Yep.
That I am trying to use with more care than before. Something that can sit on your wrist for a large range of situations, from swimming at the beach to moderately dressed out. Let's say something like a Nautilus, but not as delicate. So we've already said the GMT is what he needs to add there. And I would say if you want something that's really cool, add a Reverso.
Well, as for the everyday sports watch,
because he likes French things. He likes French, doesn't he? He likes French.
Well, he bought a French watch to commemorate his time in Paris, but on the other hand, he is Italian, and he does specifically say later on in the email, a Luminor Panerai, Pam 111, since it's Italian, and a diver like me.
Good point. Now, I think he should, if he wants to add a gold watch, let me just tell you my verdict. You can give you your verdict. I'm saying to add a watch, he needs to add a Polar Explorer 2. That's what I would add. That's Paul. And I would add a gold Reverso. Okay? I'd add those two, which you could add a Polar Explorer and a gold Reverso for less than the price of a Nautilus. Okay?
Right.
After this complication, so I'm saying he needs to get these two watches. What would you say to add? You give me your two. So what are you saying he needs to add, firstly? So he wants some sort of gold watch and some sort of sports watch. You'd give me two. What's the Clive answer?
Well, he could even go more vintagey and look and find a Omega gold constellation of some sort. That'd be a little bit more of a dress watch, a little bit more functional than the Patek. Or I still think a white or a blue Milgauss for more of a sporty, semi-dressy one.
Okay, so you're saying a white or blue Milgauss, and you're saying a gold constellation.
Right, because he has no Omega.
Okay.
He needs an Omega in the mix, I think. Big, but on the other hand, you can't really do a man on the moon because he already has two chronographs, so it'd be pointless. So maybe, and he likes vintage. I think he'd probably look around and find, like I said, find a decent deal on a 18-karat Constellation.
Okay, now he goes on. After this as for the complication, I am looking at the Patek World Time 5230, the Lange 1815 chronograph, the Data Graph's little brother, and the FP Journe Octo Calendar. Another option may be a JLC Geophysics World Time True Seconds with that beautiful blue quadrant. Would you pick one of these or maybe a different one? I am sure you are partial to the Patek, but considering I already have a Patek in my collection, I'm leaning towards the Lange. I would really love to have a Lange in my collection, and I think the 1815 chronograph, being not as obscenely expensive as the Datagraph, but having essentially the same movement, may be the best value, if you can say so, about 30,000 plus for this watch. As for the FP Journe, I'd love to have one of this watch to add some variety to my collection, but I'm not sure if I'd give up the Lange or the Patek to get an FP Journe. Maybe one day I'll be able to afford both. Who knows? As for the sport everyday watch, I am considering a Panerai Luminar Mariner PAM 111, since it's Italian and a diver like me. An Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean, fantastic watch, although somehow they don't do it for me. A Blank Pane 50 Fathoms, cool watch, but a bit too much horology for a diver. Rolex Sea Dweller, very cool, but too similar to the sub. Rolex Explorer 2, not sure would go too well in a dressy situation. And on the more dressy side of casual, Rolex GMT Master 2 BLNR, that's the Batman. A Rolex Explorer 1 or a Rolex Datejust. I have to say, recently the Explorer 1 has been growing on me. Very understated, quintessential Rolex. Could go well as daily casual, but I'm afraid not having the date would not be very convenient for a daily watch. When I wear my Daytona, I realize I go looking for the date and I miss it. So an alternative could be the Datejust, but I'm afraid it's too common and looks a little feminine, especially with the fluted bezel. The Explorer 2 is also cool and has the GMT function as well as the date. So in principle, it would strike the right balance, but it may be too sporty to be worn comfortably in every occasion. What do you think? Any alternatives, ideas or brands? Maybe a Yachtmaster, maybe an IWC Ingenua. So many choices. Some serious problems we have in the first world. So here's to you, Archie. Let me know what you think. Your friend Mariano. P.S. Sorry about the long email. I hope it gave you a sense of my collection and who I am, so you have a better sense of recommendations. Feel free to make a video about my collection, although I mostly really care about your inputs and opinions. So I think, Clive, my honest opinion...
End of part one.
End of part one. I really think myself, this guy here, he desperately needs to get my advice. Sorry,
he's talking about a Datejust, the fluted bezel. He's almost there, but he thinks he doesn't like the fluted bezel, and he wants something more the dressier side of casual, and worried it's going to be too small. Datejust 2 41, smooth bezel, oyster bracelet. That way, it's there's.
I got to tell you, I think with this guy's collection, he's got pieces from the 90s and early 2000s. I would be keeping it in line with his current collection. I don't see the point in going out and getting all these newish pieces just for the sake of adding some. These are very expensive choices. Personally, I would say to him this. Number one, get yourself a Polar Explorer 2. It's cheap as chips and it'll balance your collection. Okay?
Everyone on the live stream, take a drink.
Number two, I would get as a dressy watch, I would get a yellow gold, yellow gold or rose gold. Actually, I'd go rose gold, Reverso 976. That's the big.
Yeah, I got it. I think I have to back you up on that one.
That's also great value. You can get those absolutely great value. They're about 10 US. This is very good value. Now, this guy, even though he's got a bit of money here, I can see a lot of it is older money, and he may not be so rich himself. Okay, so there's some underlining. I would say, okay, then you want to get a superb, beautiful piece. You want to get a superb, beautiful piece. I would say to you, in all honesty, I love your Patek, but it is a little bit dated. If you want a really cool, superb watch, my advice to you would go secondhand Lange 1. Go for a Lange 1. That'd be an amazing, wow piece to have. You don't need another chronograph. You don't. You've already got the Daytona. You've got the Breguet. I don't know why you'd want to get a Lange chronograph. Hideously expensive to service. You've already got two chronographs. I'd get a Lange 1. It's manual wind. It's just a very traditional Lange. You've got your beautiful Patek, your heirloom piece. This Lange would be create your own heirloom. Create your own heirloom. That's what I would say. So, Clive, with that said, that's my advice. Tell me your advice. What would you give him? I'm going to shut up You tell him some advice.
Well, and like I said, I'd still think a Datejust with a smooth bezel, you'd have the choice of either 36 for more of a classic approach, and with an oyster bracelet, you could want to get a little more modern. You could get a Datejust 2, a little bit bigger, see if it jives with the rest of your collection or not, and keep in mind, I'd maybe say a Rolex Sky Dweller if you want something more hoterology. Maybe a Rolex Sky Dweller in white gold.
Would you go so steel with white gold bezel? Is that what you're saying? That's the new release.
Correct.
Ooh.
You want something hoterology, so.
That hoterology, right? A Rolex?
Yeah. Sky Dweller, yeah.
I don't know if it is. It's not that good.
Well, and the only other thing he has is he already has 2 Rolexes already, but he's specifically talking about Rolexes in his buying choices. The other opposite is to go, like I said, go completely the other way, vintage and Omega. He's not wild about the Planet Ocean. Maybe a 18 karat vintage gold constellation. I think the answers are out there.
I'm not so keen on a gold constellation. What about a Globemaster? You know, the new Globemaster. That's like it's like a retro. It's a modern piece,
right? But
it's very it's got a retro look to it.
maybe an Omega Railmaster, the reissue.
You don't like the Globemaster?
No, the Globemaster is fine too, but the Railmaster would be fine. Could work.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, what are you drinking
now?
Yes,
soda water.
What? Okay. Yeah. I'm looking through the boards. Breitlinger Panerai. You know, he's considering a Panerai, but he's already got a couple. He's already got one diver.
Yeah. I think a PAM 11 would also be, because the thing is this, I think you got to remember this. We're giving advice, right?
Right.
If he goes, I just want to say this to you, Clive. It's really something I think you're missing, okay?
Okay.
Let me tell you what I think is wrong with some of your advice.
Sure.
And this is the guy's collection. He's saying add 1, 2, 3 pieces. Well, hang on a minute, Bubba. Instead of buying a brand new Lange 1815 chronograph, if you bought some second-hand pieces, you could get half a dozen things for the same money as that Lange. You understand?
Right.
Like, let's look at it this way. Say he gets the Explorer 2. What's that going to cost? US dollars. Explorer 2, a decent one of those would be 4,000 or 5,000. Give me a figure. 5.
I'd say probably 5.
Okay, let's go with 5. A Reverso rose gold. So this is solid gold Reverso 976. I was looking at those yesterday on the board. We were talking about that. You can get one of those for 10,000. Right?
Right.
A Lange 1. Okay, that they are a bit expensive. Okay, a Lange 1 is not cheap. Okay, I can see that. That's a good point. They're not cheap. Lange 1s are not cheap, but you can get a 38.5 mil Lange 1. You can get one of those there for about. Just having a quick look now. Just give me 1 minute, Clive. You can get one of these. What the hell has it gone? Just hang on. You can get one, a Lange 1. Oh, my God. Just hang on. Sorry, Clive. I've stuffed this up.
Well, the other possibility is just...
You can get one for about 15,000. Clive, you can get one... No, 13... You can get a nice Lange 1, the smaller size one, right?
Right.
Actually, Clive, there is no cheap Lange 1s. Lange 1s and cheap. Actually, there's one for 18,000. There we go, 18,000. That's the slightly less desired one, right? So that's right. That's. So what I'm saying is here, instead of sending 30 plus on one Lange, we can get the whole lot for the same money. This is a Lange 1. Its reference, actually, it's this one here is the 38.5 mil. They're slightly cheaper. Retail is $35,000 US.
Vintage day date, and probably a little bit smaller than he wants at 36.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, you look around and find those for a relative bargain, and it would fit with the overall aesthetics of the rest of the collection. Also, he's Italian.
Yes,
and he even says, "I want more. I mean, more gold." I could, it's already a little bit Rolex heavy anyway, but I could see it fitting in with this collection pretty well. Plop it down below and to the left of the Baume & Mercier, done and done.
Yes, very, very true. I would be saying here, I think this guy here should be, instead of looking at it as saying I need to get 3 watches or 2 watches or 4 watches, look at a budget, because if you buy some used pieces, you're going to get much better bang per buck, and you can plug a few holes. The other thing is I'd like to get as a PAM 111. If he's Italian, it's a birthright to get a PAM 111. Okay?
PAM 111 won't have a date.
We don't listen to what he needs there. Just because he says he wants a date doesn't mean, you have to get it.
Then we can go right back to the Milgauss then.
Okay, fair enough, okay. So, but the PAM is a different sort of watch. That's still just an everyday watch. He doesn't have to have a date, because he's got his Polar with the date. He's got there's so many pieces here which we're going to put in with dates. I wouldn't worry too much, okay?
By the way, you notice we actually have females now in the live comments. When the heck did that start happening?
I don't know, Clive.
I don't know. Times are changing.
Maybe that could be fake. Could be catfish, but.
Oh, maybe. But welcome, female fisters.
So tell me this: what do you think?
You know what I meant there? I meant females who are on the boards. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
I think instead of saying how many pieces he wants, he should look at a budget and see what is a good combo deal.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be buying new stuff. That's a dumb idea. That's what's wrong with your advice for the Sky Dweller. It's too damn expensive.
Said the man with the Patek World Time.
No, but I bought mine secondhand. I didn't buy it new.
He doesn't have to. Well, he could wait until he gets the Sky Dweller used. He doesn't have to get it right now. He's talking about later on. But also, I would think that the price on the, I think since everyone's lining up for the stainless steel Sky Dweller and the two-tone, maybe you might have a little give at the
gold end.
Yeah. You'll still get fisted, don't get me wrong.
I wouldn't be buying new. I don't think that's wise.
Possibly, or wait for one to come up later on. Doesn't mean immediate. He's also talking about long-range device. Doesn't have to be immediate.
Yeah. I know what you're saying there. I would really think that this guy here should be. I really think this guy should be looking at secondhand pieces. Don't buy new. Don't buy new. That's going to be a very bad mistake. Buying new is a mistake.
Mariano, actually what I think you need to do is further explain your choices. Send that in with a follow-up email to the Pontiff and actually flesh out the choices a lot more. I don't think he really explained himself a lot on some of his choices. So I think if he were to send
the email was long enough, Clive. Come on there, my friend.
Well, I think it could have been longer. I don't think he really adequately explained himself.
Yeah, I still think my honest opinion is Polar Explorer 2, Rose Gold Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso 976, 10,000. Lange one, you can get one 38.5 mil one for about 18,000. And I would add a PAM 111. And he's got enough watches there which have dates to cover that problem. This is a weekend type of watch.
Absolutely.
What would you say? Do you like his collection? I think he's very lucky to have that inheritance where he got a Patek as a gift. Jesus Christ.
Well, and the nice thing is that don't make any sudden moves. Carefully consider. I mean, and part of it you have to realize is with use, you're somewhat limited by what's available. So it's not like I actually think he's made good choices before in the past. He's putting in the hard yard. He's thinking about it. I think he'll continue to make good choices in the future. Short term, maybe like I said, a GMT.
Mind you, his wife can't pick watches to save herself, can she?
Well, she could have done a lot worse than Baum and Mercier. At least she tried.
Yeah, I understand.
That's nice. So,
Clive, I think that was a good review. Let's wrap that baby up. Do you want to do one more review?
I think it's only 7. Well, it's 8 o'clock. I got time to hang.
Okay, we're going to end this now. We're going to come back with another review.